Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadaya.com.
Indeed, and we got the square and the circle today. Somebody's got to look good, as he said, and that's a good thing. So who amongst you was up last night at midnight to see the 90% lunar eclipse?
Crickets.
I guess I guess I was the only one. Yeah, I got a brief look at it. It came right out of the clouds and right back into the clouds at kind of the perfect moment. Took a look and said, okay, been there, seen that. All right, we'll go back to bed. It was an interesting sight, but 90% just doesn't really do it justice. It doesn't get that deep red or that super eerie feeling when the Earth's shadow completely covers it, and you just have the long rays bent around the Earth, which would create that reddish hue because the longer rays, just like a sunset, the longer rays of the sun of light are bent. So that's why once the sun sets, you see the reddish hue in the sky. You see the same reddish hue against the sun, or against the moon, even though the moon is completely in the shadow of the Earth. It reminds me, though, every time I see a lunar or a solar eclipse, I just laugh at Christianity and the stupidity of it. You know, they had when their Jesus died on their death stake. They had the sun go dark, which would be a solar eclipse. But didn't anybody ever tell them that Passover always occurs on a full moon? And on a full moon, you can have a lunar eclipse, but you can never have a solar eclipse on a full moon. So unless God says, oh, well, I'm going to spend the whole thing out of whack here, I'm going to move the moon to the opposite side of the planet just to fool them here.
It's a miracle.
I want to create a solar eclipse when the nighttime you could have a lunar eclipse, but it's not nighttime, so you couldn't have a lunar eclipse when it's not nighttime because the sun rays are still shining. Otherwise, it still wouldn't be Passover. So you can't have a lunar eclipse when it's the sun's rays are still shining on your side of the planet, and you can't have a solar eclipse at that time. And just pretend that God said, "All right, I'm going to just screw with them. I'm going to move the moon to the other side of the planet, just for giggles."
Just this once.
Why didn't any one of the civilizations anywhere in the world record that there was a solar eclipse at a time that was impossible?
The tidal forces of moving
tidal waves.
Like that.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, tidal wave, huh? Okay, so that's your answer. Is that your
they would have
answer?
recorded at the very minimum. They would have recorded if they had done that, a tidal wave, right? Because you can't take that mass and flip it around to the other side of the Earth for this period of time.
Well, I'm not sure of a tidal wave, but it would have been a massive tidal change on the Earth. That is for darn sure. And if you were far enough north, you would have noticed the huge tidal swing. But of course, it's just one of 1,000 reasons why the Christian New Testament is rubbish. And anyone who believes it is an utter fool because it's just filled with so many lies. And here is believe Mel, go to hell. Mel wants you to believe that God is our protector. He doesn't even know what God's name is. And I can assure you that your God did not write Psalm 121. It was written by the actual Messiah, the actual Son of God, the actual Savior. And he condemns the myth of Jesus because Jesus is nothing but a counterfeit of him. So, Mel, everyone who believes you is going to follow you to hell. You'd have been a whole lot better off just to shut up and not let everybody know that you're a stupid anti-Semite.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this whole picture, I couldn't figure out if we were trying to be Gandalf or Harry Potter here. This was just some nonsense.
Gandalf, this is their view. Their Jesus is a man god, so their God is no bigger than a man, and their God actually has to strain to keep back the devils. Yeah, it's what happens when you reduce your God to the size of a man. I don't know. I didn't even know there was animation here. So do the devils creep and crawl, or what? You know what happens here? Oh yeah. Oh, but he's so strong. Oh, man. He's like Superman.
Expecto Patronum.
You are such a moron. All right. Yes, God is not a man. If you think your God is no bigger than a man, then you have a really wee puny God. Hey, there we go.
That guy killed Jesus.
That guy killed Jesus. Absolutely, flat out murdered him. Gone. I confess to the crime. I killed Jesus. And if you think you're so hot and your religion is so cool, then you go and resurrect him. If you believe that it's not true that I killed him, go and prove that your God that I destroyed is real. You try to refute the 4,000 pages and 5-volume Christianity, just teasing you with one of them there. Yada.com. Right there for
nice
you.
Sandals.
Those are,
nice
sandals. I figured if you're going to kill Jesus, you might as well wear the hat of Indiana Jones and wear the Jesus sandals if you're going to do it.
So, says he's properly
if you're gonna present yourself as a Malak, dress like it. So actually, I didn't draw the picture. I'm sure it was one of those that my wife or her team drew, but there you go. It's I actually like it. The image there and holding it up.
Oh yeah.
And the line, I killed Jesus. And if you think that's not true, or you think that's not possible, well, first of all, you have to recognize that Jesus could be killed by men. Otherwise, you have no religion, right? So what difference is it that Jesus was killed mythically by Jews, or I killed him today? Well, your God's obviously susceptible to being killed by men. And I just did a much better job at it.
So the pen is mightier than the sword, right?
It is. Pen's mightier than the sword. Yeah, I did a much better job. I killed him so that you can't resurrect him.
He stays dead.
Oh, so here it is. This is Muhammad had the imaginary story of where after he completely failed pursuant to the satanic verses, he once he admitted that Allah was one of many gods, and Islam and Allat, Manat, and Al-Uzza were also goddesses, and actually wrote them right into his Quran. Well, he didn't write them because he was illiterate, but he spoke them into his Quran, and then he had all manner of surahs dedicated to the jinn, which are devils. Muhammad tried to get himself out of the mess he had painted himself in, because Muhammad actually said all of Allah's messengers speak on behalf of Satan. No, that's true, but it didn't play well around the Kaaba. So Muhammad had to get out of Dodge, and he was sleeping next to his little toy, Aisha, who might have been 9 years old at the time. And he imagined that during the middle of the night that he got up and that Gabriel would, by the way, if Gabriel got anywhere near that piece of shit, Muhammad is off to hell. But nevertheless, in their story, Gabriel came, and you only know Gabriel's name, of course, because he bought stories from the rabbis out of their Talmud. Gabriel came with a donkey mule. Now, the reason for the jackass is, of course, that the rabbis knew that that Ishmael's descendants would be wild asses of men, and so they suggested the appropriate ride, and they put wings on the jackass. And Muhammad leapt from his bed. I don't know how he was able to pull himself away from his 9-year-old sex toy, but nonetheless, he claims he did, and he leapt off to a city whose name he did not know. Later, it's called Jerusalem, but he didn't know that. And he had a big powwow in the temple, but he was too stupid to know that the temple hadn't been there for 600 years.
100 years.
Dumb as dumb is. So he then decides that he needs to take this opportunity to go up to Allah, because you couldn't reach Allah from the Kaaba. The only place you could reach Allah, evidently, was from Jerusalem's Temple Mount. Now, that wouldn't be a real problem for Allah and you Muslims, since the Temple Mount is devoted to Yahweh. Now, there he left up because this donk mule, I mean, it was a mighty beast, and he left a hoofy print there on the Temple Mount, and so that's why they built the Dome of the Rock to the place where the hoofy print is, where the donk mule jumped up to heaven. But evidently, you can't get to Allah without going through hell. And so this is the depiction of the knight's journey, where the first stop to visit Allah was hell. And it's a lovely place. Too bad he just didn't stop there and meet with Allah, because every time the Quran mentions Allah's whereabouts, Allah is in hell torturing people, burning them. He loves to burn people. Mm-hmm. And of course, in hell, it's not a place for souls, and not in Islam. It's a place for physical bodies. And they have to devour and eat fire, and their skins is burned and singed, and they're made to drink a molten pitch. And of course, women are held by their breasts through meat hooks. It's a lovely place, of course. And from there, he finally makes it up into the seventh heaven, and he meets with Allah, and Allah says, I want to be mooned 50 times a day. It's a swell religion. And for that, they built Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. So if you're a Jew, you ought to know that those things are disgraces. They're not a holy site to Islam. They're a whole embarrassment to Islam. You should just know the truth and then start telling it, so you can embarrass Muslims and then destroy those ugly shrines.
Yeah, I don't know who this Muslim painter was, but he didn't get the detail right, because they're all hanging, the women here are hanging by their hair. Mm-hmm. So it's in the hadith says they're hanging by their boobs through meat hooks. Well, describe Jesus in one word. Fake. What else do you want? Imposter, myth, counterfeit. That's a good one.
Yeah, take your pick. Jesus never existed. He was made up by Paul in 52 CE by copying the actual Messiah and Son of God and our Savior, who actually was the one who was crucified in 33 CE. So Jesus is nothing but a fraud, a fake. Okay, here we go. Tucker Carlson. So this is Awesome Jew wants you to know that there's a new report saying that Tucker Carlson has lost his audience, and that the only reason it's perceived that he still has an audience is that he has demons of little bots. And so he has a little demonic bot farm that is liking everything that he does, so that he creates the illusion of having an audience. And I want to hear and tell the Awesome Jew that, well, Tucker Carlson is a fraud, and nothing would stop him from patting himself on the back with demons of bots. The fact is, the elixir of influencers is anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. And so if you think that people are tired of his anti-Semitism, which is why they've tuned out, I got news for you, Awesome Jew. You're wrong. Anti-Semitism has never been more popular. It is literally the fuel that fires social media.
Yeah, it's scary when the issue may be that Tucker is not anti-Semite enough to maintain an audience, right? I mean,
that's possible. I mean, he is just flat out one-trick pony, and it gets old after a while. And he's really stupid at it too. So there you go. Babel, that's what that is. You're trying to blend patriotism and religion. God calls the intermixing of patriotism and religion Babel. If you're not familiar with the term Babel, you should be, because your Bible was named after it. It's the first thing that God actually attacked. It is the intermixing of religion and politics, truth and lies, for the purpose of confusing and confounding. That is what Babel means. It is the same word is used as the name of Babylon, which is the very place that God is calling his people out of in the last day. So what you're doing here is you're inviting people back into Babylon when God is calling them out of Babylon. So you would be at cross purposes with God. So with your surging religiosity and politics. And first of all, I would tell you, you're nuts. But because religion, Christianity has fallen by 30% in America over the last 30 or 40 years. But beyond that, what you're trying to encourage is the very thing God is discouraging. Yeah, we're not going to watch this whole thing. It builds too slowly unless you just go to the end of it. But this shows the growth of nuclear weapons, and clearly, it is the United States is the merchant of death all the way through here, and it is really sad that a nation would build even 5 nuclear bombs, much less 5,000, and at one time these guys were up to 15,000 nuclear warheads. What's the point? What are you trying to say? You can destroy any enemy with 5 of these. Mm-hmm. What do you? And if you do, if you send your 5 off, they're going to reply with their 5, mm-hmm. and you're going to kill billions of people, make the planet uninhabitable. And if you play with, rather than 5, with 50 or 500 or 5,000, all you're doing is blowing up the planet all the more. This is the dumbest idea ever. And of course, it was the United States that pursued it, and Russia. The only reason the United States hasn't already destroyed the world is somebody was smart enough to hand the Russians the same technology, and they eventually were able to keep pace with America. The country that's quasi-sane here is actually China, with some 500. It's a more reasonable number for deterrence. There's no reason to. In fact, there's no reason for them to have more than 50. It's a complete waste. It's just nothing but being the merchant of death. And for a country like America to say, I'm going to go to war, we'll use Ukraine as a proxy against Russia. I mean, how could you be so stupid? Mm-hmm. So let's just pretend that you won as opposed to having lost, because you did. You lost the war. You lost your proxy war. But let's pretend if you won. If you look at Russian history, do you think they're going to lie down and say, "Oh boy, you really got us. You can have our country. Here's the keys. Enjoy the gas, the oil, the uranium, the titanium. It's all yours. You beat us fair and square." Or do you think they're going to unleash a nuclear arsenal? And
nukes!
Of course,
they threw 26 million men into World War II, right? I mean, literally threw them into to soak up bullets. So yeah,
right. So what do you think they're going to do? And then you look at Iran. The head of the IRGC actually went on air yesterday, and he said, we have never wanted to build a nuclear bomb. We wanted to be at the place where we could if we needed to. But now that Trump and Israel continue to attack us, and you see that they are not attacking North Korea, the message is pretty straightforward, isn't it? You don't want America to attack you, you have a nuclear bomb. So it's certainly in our interest now to have one where we never had any interest in having one previously.
Yeah, and there's being Islamic, they love their martyrdom. They have no problem popping one off given the opportunity,
Yeah, I'm not here. I don't think that there is any chance that Iran would ever use a nuclear bomb on Israel. I think the whole lie of Israel only exists because we somehow stopped all of that. That's rubbish. Iran is going to attack Israel the way that the prophets have described. They're going to send 3 or 4 million mujahideen into Israel and have the air cover of drones and missiles. That's how it's going to happen. They want it. They don't want to destroy it. They want Jews eradicated and to take it. You can't do that with a nuclear attack. And then they're not going to destroy their own Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque with a nuclear attack either. Now, is it possible that they could detonate one over Saudi Arabia, probably not, because of the way that the prevailing winds
still west of them.
Yes, that would be really stupid. So they're not going to do that either. Do you think they're going to knock one off against Europe or some other country, Ukraine? No, it's they don't need that trouble. The only place that they could use one would be over the American fleet. And we have 2 aircraft carriers that are functional. You could pop one off over the 2 of them, and that would be it. They'd both be gone. And that's the only thing I can ever see them using it for.
Their buddies in Pakistan wouldn't like that very much because, once again, they're east of or west of what
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Would flow into them. You know, I mean, that's it. So maybe that's what the Mecca Accords is all about. Is, hey, you know, let's not Mecca Accords in our general vicinity.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
Well, the fleet is 1,500 miles off the coast, so it's a fairly safe area to.
It is. It is.
Bomb.
Yeah. But it is due west of Pakistan. That is also true. All right. So, Lisa Rosen, probably one of the top 2 or 3 most sane of all of the pro-Israeli accounts. And she's printed here that the Palestinian children get their first lessons in jihad by how many virgins, the martyrs who killed Jews, will get based on October 7th. And she wants to blame Palestinians and UMRA for this. And God, I must have communicated 500 times with Lisa. And so it's, Lisa, come on. Will you ever learn? There are no Palestinians. And for you to put that word in a title, all you're doing is you're legitimizing your enemy. Don't do it. And second, you need to know that Umrah is meaningless. Shed your ignorance of Islam, understand why they do it, and understand, once you understand Islam, you're capable of confronting Islam using words. And you're no longer trying to respond to a tactic, because terrorism is a tactic. You cannot defeat a tactic. Your problem is Islam. It's been your problem for 14 centuries. Understand the enemy, and then you're in a position to respond intelligently to them. But you're making things worse when you write Palestinian, terrorism, Hamas, and things associated with the UN. It's all window dressing.
Yeah, we talked about it on the Y to Z show this past weekend, where if you let your opponent control the vocabulary, you've lost automatically lost.
Right. It's like all the anti-Semites among scholars and influencers online. They're all Palestinians and Israel perpetrating genocide. They've completely corrupted the meaning of the word genocide so that it does not mean genocide anymore. They just use it because it sounds nasty, and they promote Palestinians as if there really is a people called Palestinian and a place called Palestine. So the vocabulary has been corrupted, mainly because there's not enough people in Israel to hold people accountable and point out these lies. It's Christianity is the same way. If Christianity hadn't existed, the vocabulary would be very different today and far more accurate.
Well, the rabbis with Zion, I mean, they corrupted with anti-Shemitism. You're the most philo-Shemitic person on the face of the earth.
Yes.
Right? Dr. Jeff.
Yes.
That's a quote, folks.
That's a quote. Yeah. Shem means name. And so the fact is that the rabbis in Judaism is the most aggressive anti-Semitic entity on earth. They are wholly against the name of God. They have erased it from their very existence and from their scriptures. So it's the rabbis who are the most anti-Semitic people on earth. Yeah, corruption of the language. Why is it? I mean, I just don't get it. Why is it? Jesse Lyons. Why? That you need to make Trump's corruption with Epstein Trump's destruction of America, why do you have to put it in a Jewish lifeboat? How do the Jews give Trump a lifeboat? I mean, it's just so utterly stupid. What's wrong with your life that you need to blame everything on Jews, that you just can't own it, that Americans nominated this guy and they voted for him, and knowing full well who he was, they empowered him, and now they can't seem to own up to what they have done to eliminate him. And you want to pretend that he is on a lifeboat created by the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
No. Just, God, get a life. Stop being so twisted and maniacal. And, everything in this earth isn't bad because Jews did it. Blame the Jews is the oldest, dumbest, most repulsive conspiracy in the history of creation. And it was promoted by Christianity in the New Testament. The blame the Jews is the utter foundation of the Christian New Testament.
They paint it on everything. I mean, with the Argentina beef situation, something that has how far away from Israel can you possibly get? I would say, thank you, Hitler, Argentina, right? The whole point to going it was it's as far away from Israel as you can possibly get on the face of the earth, right?
You're right. Argentina, right? It's where they all went, and you want to make that. Yeah, you want to make that. The whole thing is just stupid. Yeah, you've got. 0.2% of the world's population, and the Goyim who promote this shit want to believe that, and want you to believe that 0.2% is controlling not only controlling the whole world, but they have a secret plan to perpetrate genocide on Gentiles. When in fact, for the last 2,000 years, due to Christianity, Goyim have been perpetrating genocide against Jews.
Mm-hmm.
So the very people who are claiming bloody murder are the ones who are the bloody murderers. And you're not smart enough to figure it out. Conspiracy, such stupidity. Complete waste of a human soul. Okay, so they want to believe that, because Revelation says so, that there is a war in heaven. That in Shamayim, where God would absolutely not tolerate rebellion, falsehood, or any of that sort of thing. They want you to believe that there is a war in heaven. Yep. And that angels carry lightning bolts and swords and shields. Now, if you're a malak, you're a spiritual being, what would you need a shield for? How would you pierce a spiritual being with a sword?
Mm-hmm.
Why would a spiritual being have a face and feet and legs?
Mm-hmm.
And why would a spiritual being have wings? In heaven, it's not like the earth. There's not atmospheric pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Wings aren't going to do you a damn bit of good. Why? I mean, what's the purpose of all of this? And Michael is presented in one place, Daniel, which means he's judgmental of God. And Michael means he knows and understands something about God. And he was partnered with Gabriel, which means he's the most courageous and capable man of God. And the two of them came down, not as Malak, you stupid ninny. They weren't called Malak. God, read the text. They're called men. They came down as men. They did not have wings. They were not spiritual beings. They came down from heaven as men. Just stupid is, I guess, as stupid does. But
we got dragons fighting in this.
Dragons. I'm sure you got a unicorn in there someplace, right? Because you've got the Greek gods with the thunderbolts there, and looks like the Poseidon trident. You got one of those. Mm-hmm. And you've got spiritual beings dying. By the way, the reason Sheol exists is you can't kill a spiritual being. So those spiritual beings that were tossed out of Shamayim have to be incarcerated. including Hasatan. They can't be killed. So what is the purpose of spiritual warfare if the spirits can't die?
Mm-hmm.
They're light. You can't do away with light. I'm sorry. You're just really stupid. And the book of Revelation, I mean, all this does is further expose the fact that it is completely and utterly false. At its best, it's a crappy job of paraphrasing and plagiarizing.
Mm-hmm.
And it unfortunately picked a false text, Ezekiel, to paraphrase the most often, 34 citations from Ezekiel, and it's Satan's playbook.
Yeah.
So you actually think that Satan is a snake. And he's a constrictor too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, good luck with that. Okay. So here's Dr. David Wood. I don't know what he's got his PhD in, but it might have been in really stupid. He wants to believe that when the statement exists, stated actually by Dode, be aware of those who come to you in sheep's clothing, but are inwardly ravenous wolves. That he is speaking of the Benjamite wolf, Paul. And you can't figure out that Paul is the Benjamite wolf that came pretending that he was an apostle of God and then lied in everything he said about God?
That's
And
the
you wanna
only
blame that on
point
Muslims?
for Paul. That's the only point for Paul to ever say that he was Benjamite, right? I mean, because it isn't made up from somewhere. Paul owns it, right? I mean,
He owns it. Oh,
Benjamite-
yeah. He says, I'm a Benjamite. Absolutely. He owns it. And then he owns the fact that his given name is Shaul. And in the book that Paul quotes from 3 different times, Habakkuk, specifically says that the soul of Shaul is the plague of death. So he owns it. I mean, he admits that prophecy is about him. He's the wolf in sheep's clothing. And he even went as far as to say that he is a chameleon, that to Jews, he is a Jew, even though he is with the Goyim, that with the Goyim, he pretends that he is not a Jew and that he is a Goyim. To the Torah observant, he says, I feign being Torah observant because I want to win their support. So in Paul's view, there's no problem with lying and being deceitful to achieve your goal. And so he is the wolf in sheep's clothing. He owns it. And of course, in the last chapter of the second book he wrote to the Corinthians, he admits that he's demon possessed.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't hard to figure out, folks. You don't have to have a PhD to be this stupid, David.
But it helps, doctor.
But it helps. Oh, the elephant in the room. Your faith came from Catholic and Orthodox churches.
Yeah.
No. The religion and faith that is known as Christianity came from Paul. He wrote the first 14 letters of the Christian New Testament. It was Eusebius and the Roman Catholic Church that took Paul's letters and augmented them to create the religion of Christianity. It is a Pauline invention that was stolen by Rome to control people. And so you can claim to be a big deal part of that if you wish to, but understand what you're doing is saying, yeah, that's me. I'm confessing I am with the devil. Yep. I know that Paul was demon possessed. He admitted it. Yeah. So the elephant in the room, he admitted he was demon possessed. He contradicted God every time he quoted him. So obviously he was lying about representing God. I'll admit that too. And Eusebius changed whatever he didn't like to suit his fancy, and he got caught at that too. I'll go along with that. And we as imperial Romans merged into the Roman Catholic Church and imposed the feudal system to control the world. So yeah, I'm gonna side right with them, and I'm going to say, yep, I'm part of that conspiracy. I am part of working against God and for the devil. You got me.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, churches. Why don't you find the word church in any one of the Greek manuscripts, or even a word that resembles church, or a word that can be transliterated church, or a word that can be translated church? Why don't you find one? And why don't you find a word Catholic while you're at it? Or why don't you actually find the word Jesus while you're at it? Go for it. The elephant in the room.
All right. 4,000 pages. No wonder you killed Jesus, huh?
Yeah, really. Come on, folks. You just can't be perpetually stupid. It's embarrassing. You're stinking up the planet. Russians have long memories. So here's Lavrov. He says Britain's role is the most negative. He went all caps just to irritate Trump. And it has been for centuries. Britain constantly tried to do nasty things to our country, even betrayed own relatives. Nicholas II refusing asylum in 1917. So Nicholas wanted, and he was related to the British Crown. He asked them for asylum during the time that of the Bolshevik Revolution, and the asshole Brits said no. And so I can tell you there's something that I've noticed about Russian statesmen. They can quote their history. They know what you've said about them, what you've done to them, going back hundreds of years. When you listen to Putin talk
Ivan
about
the Terrible. In this clip, he starts with Ivan the Terrible, and then boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
boom. Oh yeah, it's funny. He's great. I mean, his grasp of history. And you listen to Putin when Putin's talking about what in the hell is going wrong with Germany, and he goes through 1, 2, 3, all the things that Germany has done that have been so belligerent and stupid. And you say, after all of this time, you'd think you'd finally get an intelligent German head of state. No. What are we to do? So yeah, you've got to be careful with the Russians. They have a long memory.
Yeah, and he also talks about briefly the classified documents that the KGB or whatever entity would do that Russia released that speak to the point that the Americans were ready to attack Russia and help the Germans, that they have those papers and correspondences. He said there was a time when Britain was not quite sure that they weren't going to go in with Germany against, they wanted to see how things were going to play out, Oh
yeah, there was definitely a period of time where the leadership in America and the UK did not want to engage in the war when it developed the front between the Germans and the Russians, because they wanted them to murder one another. Did not care about the fact that Europe was being torn to ribbons or the Jews were dying and the millions. They wanted blood. They loved the idea of Germans and Russians killing each other. And they said, let's wait a little while and see how this plays out, and let them beat each other up before we engage. And they had plans on either side. They didn't really care which side they were on. Well, Russia knows that between Americans and the Brits, you don't have any ethics. That's what essentially he's saying. Okay, Mitch. Talking about screwing up your own language. Why don't you read the Torah? Is Zionist spelled with a Z?
No, Tazday.
Yeah, it's Tazday. How is the Z drawn in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew?
It's a plow.
It was a plow. So are you plowing that ridge line on the top of Zion, which is where Mount Moriah? Do you think you're going to go up to the threshing floor there and you're going to say, yeah, I think I want to put a plow here. What a great place to plant daisies. No, it's not a plow. It is the Tazday, which is a person in a position where they're reading. And why are they shown reading on Zion?
Observing the signs.
It's because Zion means signs that are posted along the way. You've got no clue because you've corrupted your own language. Stop being a Zionist and think it's a political term. God hates politics. Stop being a Zionist and think it's a religious term. God hates religion. He gave you signs. Read the signs. Mish.
Yeah. Understand what's
Understand the
supposed to
words you're
happen on that
wielding.
ridge line. Yeah.
Yeah. Read the words that you are wielding so that you don't appear so stupid. Oh yeah, this Alexander the Duncan is a Christian that thinks that his calling in life is my dog's biting her nails. That his calling in life is to attack Islam, and I swear the guy does it because there's no merit to Christianity. I mean, Christianity is so stupid and so easily refuted that what he's looking for is, if I can show that Islam is worse than Christianity, then Christianity is a better choice than Islam. Okay. But that's what he does. And to have somebody attack a religion while they are religious means they have no credibility. If you go to yadayah.com, you'll find 5 books destroying the credibility of Christianity and 5 books destroying the credibility of Islam. That's the only way you can be consistent. It's the only way you can actually speak for God. That's the only way that your message has any credence. And he says, he wants to tell you that the gods of the Muslims and the Christians that they worship are not the same God. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're worshiping your God, it is the same God in different dress. And your God isn't God, because a superior being is never, ever, under any circumstance, going to create morons to worship him. It would be, like creating an ant farm and saying, what I want is 5 times a day, I want you bowing down and you offering me nibbles from whatever you can collect in that ant, or maybe dead ants, as a tribute. And you're all going to be bowing to me and telling me how great I am. And that's going to be your ant farm. I mean, a superior being, to make an inferior being worship him, is disgusting. And so if you're worshiping a God, your God isn't God. And if you're worshiping a God, then your God is no different than any other of the moronic gods men have made. And oh, by the way, your God is a man. And in Islam, it was a man that created God. So what is the difference between a man creating his God and you creating your God in the form of a man? Yeah. Alexander Duncan, you're just stupid, pal.
Right?
Yes, Allah in the Quran is Satan. Jesus in the New Testament is Satan. They're both Satan. They're just Satan in different costumes. God hates religion. The New Testament is an utter and complete fraud. And it tries to rob the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, and in so doing, every citation is erroneous. It's not hard to figure out, pal. God, people, you're just stinking up the place. Yeah, no wonder God said, I really regret creating people. They're evil all of the time. Wear it, pal. It's your badge. Another one. So, John Bolton, he is all full of himself. He walked into the White House, the Oval Office, and Trump was there. May I touch your mustache? And he said, I walked into the Oval Office, and Trump was there, and he was dictating a tweet. Yeah, he was dictating a tweet to Dan Scavarno. Okay, well, boy, that's magic. I mean, that is just magic time. Scripture being written by the Lord of the tweet. And so, and he was said, I want that last sentence all in caps, Trump said. And then he asked me, do you know why I write it in all caps? Oh, no, Allah knows best. Tell me, prophet, since Allah knows best. Because it drives them crazy. And then he says, so isn't it glorious? We have a president that is the bestest of the trollers. He's trolling them. Isn't that marvelous? Our POTUS is a great troller.
And he's not even good at it. He's not even good at it. It's
trolling on social media is the act of posting provocative, offensive, or misleading content online to deliberately upset others or provoke an emotional reaction. Maybe you ought to look up the definition of the word before you gloriously slather your piece of shit POTUS using that term. John.
And then be ecstatic about it. That's what the president
There's a
does.
dictionary. You can actually look up. He's calling his POTUS the best of all trollers. That's what trolling is. Unless you're fishing. All right. So this is a very long presentation. I'm hoping we get X up. I know that I've asked Rich to work with Joe to get the API keys to be able to switch our blog to X. But people can go to my X page and read this kind of thing. It's all posted there under my profile. So what they have done here is a side-by-side comparison of the 5 companies that are the leaders right now in the robot wars. Of course, they didn't include the Chinese, who I think are in advance of everybody else. And the Chinese have actually recognized that if you're going to make a robot for the home, it's going to need to have facial expression and look like a person. And so their facial expression, their synthetic skin, eye movement and twitches and all that sort of thing, it's really spectacular. They can't do it on the neck and shoulders, so it has to be a robot from that point down. But they're able to make the face very, very real. Anyway, they compare these 5 companies and talk about them. There's the company who has no experience, no deployments of robots doing anything is Tesla. All the others are actually making product and shipping product, and those robots are working, and they're 100% of them are working in industry. There has long been a use for robots replacing humans in menial jobs in factories, and people don't want to work factories anymore, so they make robots to do that. But in terms of a consumer product, there is none of the 5 is making a consumer product. So they're talking about, what are the relative advantages and disadvantages, and they want to say that Tesla's ability to mass produce will be possibly an advantage because they're actually making everything in-house because the supply chains are impossible. And what I would say to that is that having been in business, I can tell you that you can pull and push a lot of levers to be innovative. And if you're not innovative, you're wasting your time because there's no margin in what you're doing. There's no chance to actually prevail and be profitable unless you are offering something that that's better than what other people can produce. It's either better quality or better value, or you can make it more readily available. Unless you can do those things, you have no defensible margin. You have no reason to be in business, and you have no way to return on your stockholder investment. The more things that you try to invent simultaneously, the less likely you are to prevail. So you have to have something innovative. But if you have 2 things that are innovative, or 3 or 4 or 5, as you go through that line, and as each of those innovations becomes more complex, you make the likelihood of success go down appreciably with each move. And what Elon has done with Tesla and Optimus is he has based Optimus on a battery that he is not currently producing. He is basing Optimus on an AI chip that has never been made. He is basing Optimus on actuators that there is no available supply line. So he is trying to invent ways to make them. He is betting everything from that AI chip to the batteries to the actuators on things that he has to completely invent from scratch. And mass producing a AI chip is one of the most difficult things that humans have ever attempted to do. And the likelihood of getting it done on a timely basis and for it to work as advertised is so incredibly low. And everybody else is making their robots for a market that exists, industry. He has no interest in making his robots for industry. He wants to make them as a consumer toy. And yet there is nothing that these robots can do that is beneficial inside the home. And so he also has to invent his market.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to figure out a way to train them. And then they have to come out with a way to test them, because you put a product into consumer hands that is capable of the level of harm that these things are, that goes awry, and the first significant accident, they will own your company.
Yes.
And you have there is no thing that has ever been designed to test them. And then on top of all of that, there are millions of little parts here. This is not like taking the big sheet metal of a car and welding these panels together. They destroyed the flagship of Tesla, the Model S, took it out of the Fremont factory, and have tried to turn the Fremont factory into a manufacturing of low quantities of Optimus. But they've got no functional battery for it. They've got no functional AI chip for it. And none of the parts that they have been trying to make are available for it. And they have no automated manufacturing process for it and no testing for it. And so you put all of these things together, and then you have a part-time CEO that is doing all this other stuff. I think that the likelihood of Tesla coming out on top with Optimus is slim to none. And I think the likelihood of robots being a family pet, no.
A couple things on this. First one is the family pet thing. I find it fascinating. You're talking about the Chinese wanting the facial movements and everything for the home robots and stuff like that. Have you noticed that all of their robots are Caucasian? They white, blonde hair, blue eyes,
they're all. By the way, and they're all females.
And when they're all females, yes,
and they're all females. And they're all. Have you ever seen an ugly one?
Well, no, of course not. But yeah,
no.
We love you a long time.
We love you a long time. We love you. We love you real well. We love you a long time.
But isn't that weird that
plug me in and I give me a recharge. I love you again.
Your market is for the home, okay, which is typically
it's really
females
not.
It's
really not for the
there.
home. It's really not for the home, Kevin. We're talking all around this.
Yeah, I understand that, but
the Chinese make some of the best robots in the world for industry. They not be pretty.
Go look into their agriculture robots are off the charts.
They are. Their robots, agriculture or factory robots, are off the charts spectacular in terms of their ability to perform. But their home robots are all pretty, and they put the money on face on these robots. And I'm here to tell you, they're not making them to wash dishes.
Right.
That will not be the reason that somebody says, "I'll give you $30,000."
Right. The second point of this is that we look at what drives Elon's industry. Okay. SpaceX works for the government, right? I mean, that's their number one contract. Okay.
That's all they got.
Put shit in space.
Well, not all
Starlink.
they got. Starlink, but Starlink is mostly government now too.
Right.
And of course, the programs that are fueling AI and SpaceX are government as well, mostly military.
Right. And so now we have Optimus, which is our Roger drone robots to go, shoot Americans. And I'm pretty sure that
yeah. Imagine that. You take Larry Ellison's, we're watching everything you do, we're recording everything you do, you're going to behave because we're going to send the robots in to not only going to steal your money out of your bank account and eliminate your credit card's functionality. We've got your home pet, it will kill you.
Yeah. Turn you in. I mean, or
yes. Yeah.
Break up the next food riot, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So I have a feeling that he's will say that this is going to be great for the home environment and consumer model. And he knows.
If you were stupid enough to leave that machine with your daughter or son, then you should be locked up. I wouldn't trust that with my cat. And I don't even have a cat.
Have a cat. Wouldn't let it mow my yard. And I got a lot of yard for it to wander around in. So it's not a lot it could hurt out there.
I'm not opposed to a robotic lawnmower, but it sure as hell's not going to be an Optimus.
Optimus, right.
Yes. By the way, I have probably 5 robotic vacuums, which is one of the very first things they made for the home. That was robotic. Yeah. They have a little docking station. They'll empty themselves. There isn't one of them that is still functioning or that you've used past maybe 2 recharges. They just aren't practical. They're just a total and complete waste. Speaking of a total and complete waste, as the Titanic plunges beneath the sea, the band plays on. Democrat. Oh, you can let him sing. You silenced him.
Wow.
Walked into the Senate. They were hissing like snakes. Democrats all chattering about their silly mistakes. They'd point their fingers, they pound the floor. But I walk right past and lock the door. Lord, them Democrats.
All right, that's enough. Yeah, it's amazing with AI how you can turn Satan in a suit into cool. That's what they're trying to do.
I wondered why he sounded like B.B. King and looks like, it's I don't.
Satan in a suit, and yet you want him to be cool. Sitting on a bathtub in Air Force One as he goes through this. I mean, it's just. Are they going to be surprised when they find out that we're right, that he is Satan in a suit, the Copper Con? Somebody actually took the orange color off of him and took the hair plugs off of his head and showed what he looks like without all of that, without the makeup, without the hair plugs. It ain't pretty. All right, so this fellow here, he's in a bar with all the booze bottles lit up, which is, I said, have another drink.
How far
he claims that he read the Quran through 4 or 5 times, and his issue with the Quran is the lack of a crucifixion. That's his issue, and that the Quranic stories of Jebus are apocryphal. He doesn't want to admit or doesn't even know that 90% of the Quran's religiosity comes from the rabbis. The part that comes from the caricature of Esau in the Quran, there's his bar, is all from the Gospel of Thomas, which was added long after Muhammad's death. And so it's a stupid source. It's a source where Jesus makes a clay bird and it comes to life and flies away. And and of course, in the Gospel of Thomas, there is no crucifixion. So they sort of like that version. But of course, there's no credibility of any of the Gospels, much less one that is written 500 years or 400 years after the fact. Now, the biggest issue, of course, with the Quran is that all of the religious stories in the Quran come from the Talmud. And some come directly from the Talmud, whole chapters, the chapter on Solomon, the chapter of on David, they're pulled out of the Talmud wholesale and plugged right into the Quran. And all the repeated stories on Noah and Abraham, like the story of Abraham smashing with an axe all of the smaller idols and leaving the bigger idols and having the bigger idol speak, pretending that's Allah. That story actually wasn't made up by Muhammad. It was made up by the rabbis. They have a whole backstory on Abraham and Ur. And so that's the backstory that was used to substantiate a rock god, because it really plays well into that story. But he doesn't know that. And he doesn't want to talk about the biggest issue with the Quran is that it's a death cult, that they tell Muslims to kill everybody. And that that Muslims have either died killing for Allah or they will die killing for Allah. And that the Quran and Hadith are supportive of rape, pedophilia, incest, and slavery and mass murder and terrorism, and genocide and apartheid, and you name it. But his issue is a non-existent crucifixion of a pretend fake God. So my thing is, have another drink. If your biggest issue with the Quran is that you are fooled by your faith. Well, Muhammad was the worst man who ever lived, and he doesn't even mention that. At least Muhammad was real. Jesus wasn't even real.
Yeah, to read it 5 or 6 times and to describe it as I found the teaching very wanting, as opposed to there's not one
evil
redeeming thing in the entire book. There's not
there is no teaching, which means he didn't actually read it. Somebody told him that there's no crucifixion, and so he wants to pretend that he is an influencer. There is no teaching. There's not something that's wanted. It's the most evil book ever written. And he wants to pretend like he's some kind of an expert. He's not. And he says, I was bothered that it was apocryphal sources rather than historically reliable sources. Where is there a historically reliable source on Jesus? Tell me one. One historically reliable source. Why don't you give me an eyewitness that is a contemporary eyewitness? Because Mark was the first to be written. It was written in 75 to 80 CE, when these events took place between 30 and 33 CE.
Well, the guy that was there wrote it 700 years
40
before
years,
it happened.
40 years, 2 generations after the fact, and he wasn't even in the same country. So how is that a historically accurate source? And Luke is nothing but a copy of Mark. And Matthew was written in 100 CE, and it plagiarizes, 80% of it's plagiarized from Mark and Luke. How is that a historically accurate source? And we don't even know who wrote the book that's attributed to John, but it was written around 100 CE, which means the John that's associated with the story was long dead. So there is not a single contemporaneous historical reference to your Jesus. Not even a scribble on it, not a chiseled sign on a rock, nothing. And you want historically reliable sources? Come on, grow up and get out of the bar. Yeah, that's not healthy for Kevin.
Right.
I'm sorry to drag you through that bar, pal.
It's all right. I can handle it.
Yeah, man. All those pretty bottles. God, that doesn't do it for me. I'll tell you that for sure. All right. So breaking news. U.S. intelligence says Putin now reads America as too depleted by the Iran war to stop him. Somewhere along the line, Putin was aware that America couldn't stop him a lot further past than this. Now, the fact of the matter is that Russia, China, and Iran won the war against America, and the U.S., EU, and Israel lost, and it is irreversible. And the sooner the world owns up to that reality, the fewer people are going to die. Otherwise, you're going to push it, and you're going to have a nuclear holocaust. That is a really bad idea. You just can't go into the shower and scrub off nuclear radiation and say, boy, that was a really bad afternoon. I hope we don't do that again. You get one chance at that. And it's like horseshoes. All you have to do is get close. So it's a really bad idea. But the most recent analysis from this meeting is, even though Lavrov says, listen, it was a secret meeting between secret service agencies, and they had it in secret, and that's what secret services do. I wasn't there. President of the Russian Federation wasn't there. They talked about what they talked about, and they kept it secret. So ask another question. What's his answer? And what I have concluded, of course, that the only reason for this timing would be to beg Russia to get involved in shutting down the Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz and ending the war that Trump can't end, that's killing him for the midterms. The Iranian conflict, no one's talking about anymore. It has no effect on the midterms, but the Iranian war does. Trump needs to get out of the Iranian war. Russia can help him get out of the Iranian war. And so the only thing that you would do is you'd go to Russia and you'd say, I'll trade you. I'll lift all the sanctions on you. I'll release your funds. All the things that Iran is asking us to do for them, I will do for you if you isolate them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what of course, was the thrust of the meeting. And Putin has too high a morals for that. He said, why would I do that? First of all, if you did this to us first and then you did it to them, and I agreed and I supported your plan to get out of this war, what would keep you from doing it to us all over again?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I ever trust you? And if you're willing to say that all of those sanctions on us were justified, but you're willing to remove them, well, why would I believe you?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that just insane?
Or even need you. I mean, you're bringing me nothing. We thrived under your sanctions. You're bringing me nothing. You're going to let us back into SWIFT? We don't fucking need SWIFT. Right? I mean,
we don't. So, you want to? We're going to play in the dollar reserve currency? No, we don't need it anymore. We don't need your market. Yeah. We don't need anything associated with you anymore. So no, you're offering me nothing. Go away. It's kind of like with China, where China said, "Are you kidding? No, we're not going to abide by anything you want done with Iran." And oh, by the way, we are the dominant trading partner with Iran, which means your secondary sanctions and your D-Day event is a complete waste. It has no chance of success, since the two largest trading partners with Iran both said, "No, we're not going to be bothered by what you have to say." Now, just because that was the main theme, the main thrust, because Trump was desperate to get this off his plate so that he doesn't get avalanched in the midterms. There is more to it than that. We've heard from numerous sources that Ukraine squandered its second half of its military budget before the second half of the year began. And that the monies that the United States gave and the EU gave, which was about 70 to 80 billion dollars, that the first half and the second half of the fiscal year are both gone. And that's why the stories are out, and that's why Zelensky is out begging for more money. But it's not just that they squandered them, it's how they squandered them. The general that was fired in Ukraine with boatloads of cash, he was fired because he decided to take all funding away from the troops: guns, ammunition, artillery, food, clothing, everything, supply lines, and to put all of the money into drones. But he didn't put his money into an existing drone manufacturing and say, we'll just make a lot of really cheap drones and use that as our means to attack Russians. No, he went to a startup, to a fellow who had never made a drone, never manufactured anything. And he gave him $37 billion.
I can make drones.
And he did. He made some drones, and he sold them to the government based upon copying a British plan. And these are drones that cost about $500 to make. He sold most of them for $55,000. And they made 40,000 of them, of which the Ukraine has deployed all of them. 8 of them struck their targets.
What's that success ratio?
I don't know what percentage. That's not looking good.
I can't move a
I'm not going to
decimal
ask you,
back
Rich,
that
because
far.
your math won't go there. But
Oh my
but yes.
gosh.
Yeah,
40,000 to 8.
8.
Oh.
So they made a big deal of the 8 where they struck, but 40,000 of them, and they're gone.
And they're gone.
And now Ukraine has nothing. And so a part of it is, okay, so the CIA's business, its reason to exist is to kill Russians. That's what the CIA does. And so you send the main cheerleader for killing Russians over to Russia, and his message is, okay, you got us. We know that Ukraine is now utterly undefensible. And we know that the Baltic nations, particularly Lithuania, are screaming bloody murder that they want to go and kill some Ruskies. And we know that you're mad at the UK for manufacturing drones and giving them the targets to go kill Ruskies. We know that. We know we like killing Russians. So we don't have a problem with that, but we know you don't like that. And that we know that you're about to respond, that you've had enough of it. But if you respond to that, then we're not gonna like that. Okay, and so, what time's your flight out of here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an acknowledgement that they've lost, and saying, is there any way to keep from completely, utterly, and totally destroying Ukraine? Ukraine has almost a zero birth rate right now. They're losing 10,000 people a week, plus the half the population's already gone. It isn't even going to be a ghost town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, what can we do to get this over with? You obviously won.
Yeah, you can lose military age males, but when you start losing productive age females, populations don't come back from that. It's a biological, that sigmoid curve falls off the cliff because there's nothing left to reproduce.
But I'm fairly aware of how this biology works. I rather like the design. I keep on practicing. I'm going to be good at it one day.
Right.
But for the biologically receptive female to give birth to a new citizen, you have to have a biologically active male there with her. But what happened to the biologically active males in Ukraine? The wimps all went to Poland and to Germany and Romania and the like. And the ones that didn't have enough money to get out of Dodge, they went to the front and they're dead. So guess what's has not been around for years of the biologically active females.
Yeah.
Men.
When
and now
conservation
they're sending the women
departments
to the front.
when conservation departments control a population, as far as the birth rates and stuff, it's through the females. That's why an any deer permit exists. And so, because it only takes one male to, inseminate, to father several different females. So you can lose a certain amount but you can't lose the females, because otherwise that
is true. That is true in animals.
Right.
And human cultures, the stud of the community doesn't get to round up all the females and say that you're all mine and nobody else can screw you but me, and I'm going to impregnate as many females as I want to or I can. So in a human society, you do have to have a representative number of serviceable men around, and you sent them either out to die or into exile. So that does have an effect. I'm with you on the female is the most important part of the process, but we guys, we do make a contribution.
We do make a right. Yeah, we got to show up. Got to be in the room. So
we got to be in the room, man. Got to show up. And so they've screwed the pooch twice over on this. And of course, General Kellogg is continuing to beat the band, and he's the one now saying, "Okay, so Ukraine, you're out of men. Let's Rosie the Riveter, man. Let's go. Let's girl up, ladies. Time for you to grab a rifle, go to the front." Yeah, Ukraine, you're winning. You're winning. You just keep right on up. You're winning.
I want to talk about the $37 billion. When Iran wanted all their money back that we had stolen from them out of SWIFT for years and years and years, how much money was that? 25, 28.
Yeah, 25, right. 28 billion, something of that nature.
And this guy went through $37 billion in less than a year. I mean, there's a term for that. Okay. I mean, make it rain.
Make it rain.
Wow.
Make it rain.
37 billion. And once again, I can make drones. Okay. So Zelensky, look me up for 25 billion. I'm your guy. Okay. When you come up with it,
I'm your guy.
Because a $500 drone that I'm going to sell the government for $45,000.
You didn't understand that the marketing plan for these drones is, 10% of the total investment goes to the general. And then another 5% goes to the underlings of the general, and then another 5% goes to all the accountants in the government that's keeping track of this. That by the time you've paid everybody off, it's not quite as profitable as it might seem. Although you got a lot of room for bribes and payoffs if you're selling a $500 drone for 55 G's.
$55,000. That's
now this story, and I've heard affirmations of this story all over social media and even sometimes even the mainstream media over the last couple of months. The long verbal essay on it was last night with Scott Ritter, and Scott Ritter is a raging anti-Semite, and he is definitely now a Russian by propaganda.
Proxy.
But he is the closest to Russian sources of anybody that speaks on the internet. And when he was asked the question, what was the meeting with Ratcliffe and the CIA about? He says, I'm not going to give you the answer immediately because, I wasn't in the room, but I can tell you the conditions that prompted the meeting. He says, so let's start with where Ukraine is. And he went on for 30 minutes on the history of this drone boondoggle. And there's probably nobody better connected with the Russian intelligence, Russian military, Russian political apparatus that has a voice in America. I mean, the guy that claims to is Larry Johnson, and almost everything Larry Johnson has said in the last 3 or 4 months has been wrong. So he's lost all credibility. And Douglas MacArthur or McGregor, he's also lost all credibility. He is just literally in a rut and hasn't had anything new to say or anything that's really authenticated. And so long, you just look at him and you say, "Oh God, better than a sleeping pill, maybe."
Right.
You want to listen to it.
Oh man,
yeah.
And people
By the way,
were whining about.
It's painful to listen to Scott Ritter because he's really lost his mind to anti-Semitism. But today, because there are no spokespeople online that aren't anti-Semites, if you're going to get news from somebody who spends all of their life trying to discern what's going on in certain parts of the world, that is your only source. You have to take it with a grain of salt.
What I was trying to remember was a javelin like $50,000 a piece, or were they like, they're not 40 million. 40 million's missile money.
Missile money. No.
I was trying to figure out how much
drones run from $500 to $5,000 for the cheaper ones, and up to 50 to 1,000 to 500,000 for the intermediate ones. And, America can't make anything other than we overbuilding it and overpriced it. So American Reaper drones are, I don't know, what, $5, $6, $7, $8 million a piece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Americans drones are in the $5 to $10 million a piece range, and they go down from there.
Well, we don't have any one-way drones. That's the problem with us, is we don't use them the way everybody else does.
We don't use suicide drones, and that's
Yeah.
and the future of warfare is suicide drones. There is no function of a predator drone with that's going to loiter over someplace and send in a Hellcat missile or something. That's just not the way it's done anymore. It's way
Right.
too expensive and too vulnerable and too easily down, too easily controlled. And you used drones in swarms. The missiles are the primary killer. That drones are to take out the interceptor systems. And if you send enough drones, you can get kills with drones. And it's cheaper to destroy targets with drones than it is with missiles, because missiles are much more expensive. But both Europe and Ukraine and the United States and the Arab fiefdoms, they're all out of interceptors.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, do you hear what the latest was? And we can go ahead and look at that. I can talk to that. But the latest out of the Mecca Accords is that we know that Oman just signed that final deal with Iran on the taxing and control mechanisms for the Strait of Hormuz. And so they're now have agreed that they're going to partner with and be in an alliance with Iran. United Arab Emirates, the Emir, went to Iran last week to say we need to figure out a way we can work together as opposed to apart, because apart you're killing us. Guess who left yesterday? Qatar. Qatar is in Iran.
Yeah.
They're in Tehran.
That leaves two. That leaves two, right?
two.
Saudi
And-
and Kuwait. I mean, those are the only.
Yes, and Kuwait can't go. Kuwait's been destroyed. Kuwait was actually the reason that this last round was not pulled off by Donald Trump. Kuwait said, we're on fumes. Virtually all of our ability to manufacture water is gone. Our ability to manufacture electricity is virtually gone. Our refining and energy extraction facilities are virtually all gone. One more hit, and this is nothing but a cemetery. So
Wow.
if you attack again, you need to know there'll be nothing left of Kuwait. So Saudi Arabia is it. And MBS, as I say, he's in a really terrible spot because he got so full of himself back in the days that he was building Neom and the line, and that he was Trump's BFF and had Trump on a string, that the world was coming to him for all manner of things, and he was going to the UN and having control there, that he got ballsy enough to say that the Hadith don't have any influence in Islam. It's all Quran. And of course, without the Hadith, there is no religion. And without the Hadith, there is no jihad of any magnitude. So he went against the Wahhab control mechanism of the religion in his country, which made him a dead man walking. And then he got pummeled in his battle with the Houthis. He lost to the Houthis before America lost to the Houthis, and he's now lost to the Houthis twice. And then he got knocked down flat by the Iranians, and then he got abandoned by the Americans. So he's on his back, and it's the only reason he hasn't been removed by his father is that he's a ruthless son of a bitch, and he probably has his father under lock and key and threatened, and would kill his father if his father thought that he'd be replacing him. But that's the reason he went to Pakistan and signed the defense pact. That's the reason that they expanded the defense pact to include Turkey, and that's the reason they're trying to bring others into it. He's trying to create the Mecca Accords to save his sorry ass, and he's in real trouble.
Yeah.
So here's Mr. Jew, Yisrael official. He says, Jewish rules in life: eat kosher, keep Shabbat, marry Jewish. Yahweh says nothing about kosher. In fact, there is no kosher with a K anywhere to be found in the Torah. Talk about screwing up your own language. There's Kodesh, but food is not Kodesh.
No.
No part of food is Kodesh. There's no association with Kodesh and food, and there is no kosher. Purely rabbinical nonsense, totally apart from God. The Shabbat is Yahweh's. You can celebrate it, you can observe it, you can benefit from it, but it isn't yours to keep. It isn't yours. And there is no word for keep in that sense anywhere in the Torah either. Shamar means to observe, to closely examine and carefully consider. And I'd like you to find the word Jewish for me in the Torah, please.
I'm gonna have to let me go look for the J first, and then I can search for. Then I can search for Jewish. Okay, let me find
Jewish or Jew or Jews or any one of those things. Why don't you or Judaism? Why don't you find any one of those things for me in the Torah or the Tanakh? Because they don't exist. Your name that you have renamed yourself robs you of Yahweh's name, and it uses the name that the King James Bible that condemns and demonizes you chose to call you. Great. Rules of life.
Right. How anti-Semitic of them to be.
How anti-Semitic of them.
Because it is Yahudah, Yahudim.
It is. And it's a compound of Yahweh's name and Dod's name. It means beloved of Yah. Until you're Yehud again, God will have nothing to do with you. You know, this is the perspective we normally don't see. This person is saying this is why Russia and the United States aren't going to war. Now, they want to make it sound like that would be a big deal, a big blow to the United States. We have bases in Alaska, you know. So what? America's bases in Alaska are pretty meaningless. But you talk about putting missiles in a place, though, that would be effective. You put them in the peninsula down there, and look how close that is to Seattle and to Portland and to San Francisco and to Los Angeles and all of that sort of thing. The Russians really don't need any more access than they already have to America. Yeah, it would be really, really, really stupid. And, you know, the United States no longer has a means to project a force. We don't have a merchant marine. We can't supply a force. We can't project a force. We can't protect a force. And we don't even have that force anymore. So I don't think, you know, there's zero chance the United States can successfully invade Iran. The United States can't successfully go to war with Russia. We have no way to project a force, to supply that force, or to protect that force. And we don't even have the force. Little issues. This is a little bit of a problem here for the dumpster. So there's the Lake of America there, right? Lake Ontario, the Lake of America there. By the way, it was Carney who mocked Trump, trolled him big time. He says, you know, the name of this is the native population named it. We didn't name it. And they named it many, many centuries before America even existed. They named it centuries before Canada as a country existed. And it means big, beautiful body of water. And oh, by the way, access to it. You want to come out of the Great Lakes where you do all of this commerce, where you have $23 billion of U.S. commerce. It all goes through the Welland Canal And guess what? There is no other way between these bodies of water than the Welland Canal. Do you notice something about the Welland Canal that should be of concern if you want to go to a war with Canada?
It's very Canadian.
Oh,
It's
it's
good. It looks
in
very
Canada,
Canadian.
isn't it?
It's so gray.
Yeah.
So are we going to invade Canada now?
I guess we're gonna,
No,
we're gonna have a
we don't need
we're gonna
to.
have a war
I got
over
it
the
all
Welland
figured out.
Canal, the Straits
I
of
got it
the
all figured
Straits of
out.
Welland. You got to figure
I don't
out.
even know why they built the canal. There's this perfectly good Niagara River right here, and it borders the United
well,
States.
yeah.
We'll just
Okay,
take our
and-
ships on that. Okay.
Yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
and what about the falls? Damn the falls!
mean?
Damn the torpedoes! Hell with the falls!
Just put everybody in barrels.
Put everybody in burnt, but you're trying to get out.
Oh. Big Ferris wheel. We'll pull it back up.
Oh, Niagara Falls. Well, that would be a little problem. So, a glitch in your get along there, Kevin.
I can just envision the scene
You
in the White House
I
now.
see. Yeah, you're a landlocked sort of a guy, aren't you?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, well, we're going to have the Trump Canal, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
When Trump wants to, of course, take over Canada, he wants to make Canada the 51st state. There happen to be 13 provinces in Canada, and so you're not going to make Canada one state. There's 13 of them, and even in the most conservative of the 13 Canadian provinces, they're far more liberal than American states.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you added the 13 Canadian provinces, your government would be all Democrats. So now what are you going to do, pal?
Well, and they speak French. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
He already fixed that.
Only in Quebec, but he's going to fix that. Yes, this is a heroic story. I've read her story many times, of course. She was part of the Hitler Youth, and as part of the Hitler Youth, she was exposed to what the Nazis were bragging about in terms of their genocide against people. And she still had a conscience. She says, that's probably not a good idea. And so she and a few others formed a group that whose purpose was, Sophie Scroll is her name, that they formed a group to popularize pamphlets that said what the Nazis are doing is wrong. Mass murder is a bad thing. Stealing other people, acting like Trump is really a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she spread these pamphlets, and the Nazis saw her doing it, and they had a mock trial. And that same afternoon, they killed her. Yeah, the consequence of saying that what the Nazis were doing was bad was death. That's the nature of Marxist regimes. You have no freedom of speech. And her last line has been memorialized. How can we expect righteousness to prevail when there is hardly anyone willing to give himself up individually for a righteous cause? Now, if you change righteous, which is the basis of the Hebrew word tzedak, to correct, accurate, vindicating, authenticated, ethical, truthful. It's the question God's asking his people. He's been asking people that for 4,000 years. How are we going to expect to do anything worthwhile together if there's not a single one of you willing to stand up and do the right thing? Now, I was going to say, and many times I have, that, I should be appreciative of the fact that Jews have, for 4,000 years, have been unwilling to do that, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten this job. I got the job by default. There were none of them willing to do it. And I rather like this job. But that's not really true when you know the whole story.
Right.
They've been bad for 4,000 years. And there
It's
is
been the
no-
job for a long time.
I've been doing the job for 6,000 years. So it began doing this job 2,000 years before there was a Yehud. But that is the problem that God does have with his people. And even today it exists, that there is almost no one that is willing to do the right thing, that has the courage, the character to stand up and do the right thing. And speaking for God takes courage and character. People will kill you for it. Man, how many death threats have I had? I mean, thousands.
A fatwa. They just don't hand those out to anybody, do they? No,
you got to earn those. You got to earn those. Yep.
God. Ugh.
From Saudi Arabia, mind you.
Yeah.
I mean, the Iranians gave them out like they were candy, but the Saudi Arabia, no, it's pretty high honor. So I've earned a fatwa defending Israel and the world from Islam. And we can't even convince people to read the 5 volumes of goddamn religion. Tells you that she was right. Sorry for you, sweetheart.
Wow. We got a new music video tonight for the
lovely.
for the Shabbat
Which
show.
one is this one?
Yeah, Matzah at midnight. It's going to be
Matzah
fun.
at midnight. Okay, that is one that I don't think I've heard the song, and I've not seen any of the visuals. I know that there's the Italian song with English and Italian that is kind of a love song that she has done that is back to that EDM beat. And so I've heard that song, and there's some really kind of fun songs she has done. But Matzah at Midnight is going to be a surprise to me. She says it's a little more kind of upbeat. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. Okay. It is. Yeah, it's a good
upbeat, fun. Okay, you're happy with it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working on it. Absolutely, it was a good time.
Okay, all right. So we'll look forward to that tonight, 6:00, and we will we'll proceed with where we are in Etza, right? That's what we're calling it. The testimony on the witness. You know, the Etza makes it into one of the 10 statements that I have etched in stone. There is an ed instead of an ida, it's an ed, but it's the one that says you should not respond to your evil and corrupt neighbor and compatriot as a false witness. Shakur before witness. And of course, the interesting part of that is God did not actually say that you should respond to them at all. It just says don't pile on. They're wrong, and you're not going to fix them by telling them what's right. Just don't pile on. Don't augment what's already bad. Don't add to it with more false testimony. He actually didn't say you should communicate with your compatriots, and the word is ra, which is also the Hebrew word for evil. You should respond to them by communicating to them what is truthful. He didn't say that. He says just don't add to what is wrong about them with more false testimony. So it's a pretty insightful position when you understand what he's actually saying. All right, so we'll be with you this evening. I think they're going to do a little technical work here behind the scenes on our connectivity, and we'll see how that plays out over the next few hours. We'll be ready to go at 6:00 Eastern time this evening. Thank you very much, Kevin and Rich, for being part of this show. Good day.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.